Hi, everybody, and welcome to Sportscaster.com's Open Mic. I'm your host, Johnny Kane. It is Wednesday, April the 2nd, just 2 days away from the Tigers' home opener. Life is good, and I hope it's good for you wherever you are listening. And also hope you have something to look forward to. Perhaps it is going to opening day, and I hope to see you there. We have a really interesting show coming up over the next hour. We're going to hear from the voice of the Tigers, Dan Dickerson, about the belief that this team has instilled after a memorable run toward the end of last year. Could this be the year that the Tigers put it all together and return atop a very talented and balanced American League Central? If you're optimistic about where this team is heading, you'll appreciate Dan's insight as well. We'll also bring you an incredible story about a young man from Rowan University in New Jersey. He's a basketball analyst who calls games without physically seeing the action. He is blind. This young man's name is Alan Wiley. He's a student broadcaster, calls games for the Delaware Blue Hens of the NBA G League, in addition to a number of other sports. Really a remarkable story, truly an inspiring young man. That's coming up shortly. And we'll also hear from Jennifer Hammond from Fox 2 and discuss how Stephen A. Smith's new $100 million contract with ESPN shifts the landscape for sports broadcasting. Now, if you're new to the program, it is called Open Mic. This is not traditional sports talk radio. This is a chance for the next generation of sports broadcasters to share their stories over the airwaves on WJR. Now, the voices you'll be hearing over the next hour are voices of student broadcasters who are a part of Sportscaster.com. And Sportscaster is a platform for students, whether they're still in high school or still in college, to share their interviews and their stories with you and me. There's some really talented young voices that one day may be hosting their own show, or maybe calling Tigers games like Dan Dickerson, or perhaps even signing their own mega contract with ESPN. You never know. Our first guest on the show tonight is someone who I've gotten to know over the last couple of months. He's a student at Indiana University, majoring in sports media. His name is Cooper Schoenberg, and he's here to share his thoughts on the Stephen A. Smith mega deal. Cooper, great to have you on the show.
Well, thanks for having me on the show, Johnny, and it's an absolute pleasure. And it was a pleasure being able to cover such a fun guy, such a fun story. Don't want to spoil anything too much for everybody listening out there, but revolutionizing kind of the game of sports broadcasting and the way contracts are going to be disputed in the future. So it was very interesting to see how pay is going to change based on everything that happened with Stephen A. and how he's going to be able to do what he wants. Little bit of a spoiler alert, not only be talking about sports, which is what he's done for the past 20 years, but also dipping into topics like politics and pop culture. So it was definitely very interesting to research and dive into.
Before we get too much further ahead, I want to say when I was first coming up, my first job was down in Hopkinsville, Kentucky at a small cable station. And I was a guest on this show a couple of times. He was the voice of the Austin Peay State University Governors. His name was Greg Walker. And he had this great Southern drawl. And whenever he would have me on, he would say, I think this kid's going to be good. I think this kid's got a future. And he said, I think one day he'll be on ESPN. And that always stuck with me. And the reason I bring that up is because I think you're going to be really good. And I love your voice. I love your energy. And I love that your willingness to dive into topics like this one.
Well, Johnny, now you're making me blush. I cannot thank you enough for the kind words. Obviously, I would already say the same for you, but you're there. You're there covering the greatest sports city with the greatest sports teams in all of America. Dare I say the entire world, but I appreciate you, and I appreciate you having me on.
All right, you got it, man. I know it's just a matter of time before you're hosting your own show, but without further ado, here's Cooper Schoenberg on Stephen A. Smith's new record contract.
Just a kid from the Bronx, attending Winston-Salem State University, going to ESPN in 2005, jumping around from show to show, but finally finding a home at First Take. Now, in 2025, he becomes the $100 million man. Who is he? Stephen A. Smith. Yes, you heard that correct. Front Office Sports reporting a 5-year, $100 million contract, $20 million per year. Where does that put him in the ranks? Third for the highest paid sports broadcaster, only under Jim Rome in TV12, the GOAT of football. What does this mean for Stephen A? Well, of course, he's going to talk about what he's talked about for the past 20 plus years, and that's sports. But it's also going to allow him to dip into some other topics, be it politics or pop culture. Now, whether you're at the top of sports broadcasting, or you're like me and so many of us out there, aspiring sports broadcasters, what does it mean for us? Well, it means new contracts and contracts disputes, where if you look at professional sports and its players, like LeBron James and Steph Curry of the NBA, or even Tom Brady when he was back in the NFL, their contracts so high, so much money, even a little controversial at times. Well, now Stephen A. Smith creating a whole new conversation for how much should sports broadcasters be paid. Looking at some of the top sports broadcasters like Skip Bayless, Samantha Ponder, and Mike Greenberg, their contracts ranging anywhere between $4 to $6.5 million. So what is it? It's money coming in and changing the entire landscape for sports broadcasting. But at the end of the day, he is the man, the myth, the legend, the $100 million man. He is Stephen A. Smith.
Cooper Schoenberg has his own podcast with fellow Sportscaster.com member Carter Lutz. It's called Cooper and Carter Live and Uncut. And if you want to hear more, be sure to check out the website, Sportscaster.com, and also search Sportscaster.com on social media. Straight ahead, how a student broadcaster with Michigan ties hasn't let an inability to see keep him from calling professional basketball games. It's a great story. Next.